I would recommend taking time to yourself to hear yourself think. I find that when there's a lot of chaos or when I'm confused about who I am or feeling low or confused, taking time away to not be around other people and just get yourself focused, I think that's always great. And if you're an artist, that time that you spend alone reflecting, it actually helps everything else you do. You know, your peace is the most important thing. And knowing you're beautiful and knowing you're great is extremely important. You shouldn't need anyone to tell you that. You should just know it and feel it every single day. You are that bitch.
You know how many married women are single mothers?
I don't, but, whoa.
Get into it. Get into it. Get into
Married
it.
women are single? How does
that? I'll give you this explanation.
Okay.
I'm not, because me and my husband actually work together on raising our kids. But there is plenty of households where a woman is solely responsible for raising kids. And a man don't give a fuck.
And you define those women as single mothers?
A married woman that's a single mom, yeah. Oh,
it's
legally, no. But in reality, if you're a man, and I mean, your household run how your household run. But if you can't help your wife or your girl out with the kids, and you know she need a break, or I saw a video of a girl breastfeeding, and she was dozing off breastfeeding. The boyfriend was recording her. Look at you being reckless. Da, 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 da. Why wouldn't you just grab your baby? Yep. Baby, go lay down for a second. You tired?
Now I get you. When
because she's a single mom.
But you know what? Personally,
next caller.
I potty train my.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Sheep Kashir podcast. We're here to talk about people, politics, and popular culture. I'm your host, the one and only Austin Creed, and ladies and gentlemen, I got a show for y'all I think you're going to really like today. It might not be what you expect, but I think it's going to be a really interesting topic to discuss, because I'm going to wager today that, you know, if you know anything about the internet, like this side of the internet, where it comes down to feminism, single mothers, all this kind of stuff, right? I'm willing to wager that feminism is a great advice for men and horrible advice for women. Now, why would I say a thing like that? Well, I'll dive into that in a second, because I think it's something that we really need to discuss. Because I was thinking about this morning. I don't know if you're anything like me, but when I wake up in the morning, I just get a bunch of random thoughts, potentially stuff from the dream I had the night before, you know. But this has been weighing on me recently. I'm thinking to myself, how is it that men are being taught to basically be henpecked by the older gentlemen, and the women are being taught to be more domineering, more, you know, boss, like whatever it is? Women are being trained to be almost more traditionally masculine, and men are being more trained to be more traditionally feminine. And I was thinking through this, and the thought dawned on me. I said, wait a minute. We hear all about this toxic masculinity, right? About how there's this part or parts of masculinity that are inherently corrosive, damaging, no good. We hear about this, right? But then we hear about feminism. And if you know a feminist in real life, you watch them on the internet more than likely, let me ask you something. What's the difference between feminism and toxic masculinity? It's a good question, right? Because there really isn't that much of a difference. It's just the feminine version. It's like a female translation of toxic masculinity. It's as if women took toxic masculinity and said, oh, well, this is what men do, and I should be able to do whatever a man does. So then I put it on this side and I say, well, I'm going to act just like a man, and I'm going to be the most toxic version of a man that I could possibly be. And that's what feminism has become. Now, to prove my point and drive it home, I want to pull this up for y'all. So here it is. The Urban Dictionary's definition of toxic masculinity. So we're going to read through this, and it's going to lay out my case for me, and I want to see what you think. Here it is. let's see, how do they define this? It says, a social science term that describes narrow, repressive type of ideas about the male gender role that defines masculinity as exaggerated masculine traits like being violent, unemotional, sexually aggressive, and so forth. Also suggests that men are acting too emotional or maybe aren't violent enough or don't do all the things that, quote, real men, unquote, can do, and their man card is taken away. Now, I find this interesting for multiple reasons, and I'll explain to you why. When I look at the term, let's look at the three things they gave us. Violence, being unemotional or emotionally unavailable, and then sexually aggressive. First of all, nobody should be sexually aggressive ever. Ever. I don't care what the excuse is. There is no excuse. Okay? Violence is an interesting one because people assume that men are more violent. But you know what's interesting is you look at domestic abuse statistics. Most of the time, the victim is the one who instigated the fight in the first place. Don't take my word for it. Look at what the CDC says about it. That's where I got the information from, is the CDC. The holy grail for the left-wingers. And being unemotional. Let me ask you something. Gentlemen who have been in a relationship or are currently in a relationship. Have you ever told your girl something? Whether it was something very personal or even something in passing that was just meaningful to you? Has that ever gotten thrown back in your face or used against you in some capacity when you least expected it? And you were just like, whoa, where did that come from? You ever had that happen to you before? Yeah, I have too. And you wonder why then you're not more emotionally forthcoming, because it's weaponized against you more often than not, and you're penalized for being emotionally available and emotionally honest. Tell me if I'm wrong in the comments, please. Please, I'd love to hear what you have to say. Let's keep going on this, because there's more. Many people confuse the difference between masculinity and toxic masculinity. All right, let's see what they have to say. However, one can be masculine without having, quote, toxic masculinity. Oh, okay, let's look at the beliefs they have. First one, they say interactions between men and women always has to be competitive and not cooperative. Let me ask you something. I think that fits feminism pretty well, don't you? Feminists are very combative on everything that you say. They're very uncooperative. Is that not toxic? Is that not exactly what they're saying right here? Let's keep going. One thing alone could be a coincidence. Let's keep going. Men can never truly understand women. And that men and women can never just be friends. Let me ask you something. Do you think all these memes on the internet of you and the guys you told you not to worry about, do you think those are just jokes? The best creativity comes from pain and previous suffering. And this is no less of an example. Because men are not just, when women say they have a lot of male friends, it's an enormous red flag, and I'll explain why. Because they're not just her friends. They want to get with her in some capacity. You don't hang out with somebody who's just annoying and gets on your nerves, do you? Of course not. Nobody does. So why the hell would you want to be friends with someone who's annoying and a pain in your neck? You wouldn't, right? So something about them has to be at least bearable or of value to you, and more often than not, men value the attractiveness of women. It doesn't always have to be sexual in nature, but just the sexual appeal goes a long way. That's why men and women cannot ever just be friends, because either the man is being used or the woman is being used in some capacity almost without fail. You can't spend a lot of time with somebody of the opposite gender to a large extent without there being some kind of awkwardness or romantic feelings of any kind, okay? I don't want to hear anything different about that, because otherwise you're lying or you're an extreme outlier and you're not the norm. Let's keep going. that real men, in all caps, that real men need to be strong, and that showing emotion is a sign of weakness. Unless it's anger, that is considered okay. So it says that real men need to be strong, and that showing emotion is a sign of weakness. Well, showing emotion, that's a very subjective term. What do they mean by showing emotion? Do men have emotions? Of course we do. We're human, just like everybody else. But I think what they're alluding to is men crying, men getting all weepy, and I'm just going through so much, man. It's just so hard. Of course we're not going to do that. That opens us up to being exploited, and it ruins our reputation. Reputation is very important. Now, men will be very real with their boys, or maybe even with their wife if they feel comfortable with doing that. But they're not just going to open up to you because you asked for it. That is not a masculine thing to do. Expression of the emotion is usually done subvertly, as in through art, through feats of war, working out, stuff like that, poured into different avenues of our life. It's not just something we talk about. We work through our emotions in different ways. Let's keep going on this list. The idea that men can never be victims of abuse and talking about it is shameful. Now, this is an interesting point. There's a difference between being a victim and identifying as a victim, okay? It's one thing to realize that you've been victimized, and it's a whole other thing to then take on the identity of a victim, and every chance possible, like the boy cried wolf, you cry that you're a victim. Very different situation. That I want that distinction to be made, because yes, men can be victims of abuse, and we are all the time, actually. But we don't go around telling everybody that we've been a victim of abuse. We handle the problem more often than not. But I do think that we should be more open and honest with other men, especially about, hey man, this kind of abuse happens, and you should be aware of it so you can look out for it, because nobody should be abused. Let's keep going down this list. The idea that, quote, real men always want sex and are ready for it at any time. Okay, this is an interesting one. I don't know where they're going with this. I think that they're trying to demonize male biology. Do men have a lot of extra testosterone, and testosterone makes us more attracted to physical things and more ready like a microwave than an oven? Yes. Does that mean that that excuses bad behavior? Absolutely not. But if you're a guy, in fact, responsible men who are successful, it's not that they don't feel the desire for fornication or for sex. They transmute that energy into something else. Like Napoleon Hill says in his books, Outwitting the Devil, Think and Grow Rich, he pushes this idea of sexual transmutation. It's not that we don't feel it. It's that we use that energy and have it so it's not used against us. It doesn't just hinder us. It propels us forward. Let's keep going. The idea that violence is the answer to everything and that real men solve their problems through violence. Okay, this might have worked thousands of years ago. It doesn't work now. Modern violence is the lowest form of humanity because we don't live in a society unless you live in very small pockets of the world, you don't have a need for it. You need to sharpen your pen, not your sword, in modern day America and the West in general, and in most Eastern countries as well. Violence, there's no really need for it. Outside of very exorbitant circumstances, which, if you're a cop, for example, and you need to use excessive force or whatever it is to be done, there's that. But you don't need violence to a large extent in modern culture. It's just not necessary. You don't need it. The idea that men could never be single parents. Now, this is a very, very good topic for me, and I'll tell you why in a minute. The idea that men can never be single parents and that men shouldn't be very interactive in their children's learning and development, and that men should always be the dominant one in the relationship or else he is a, quote, a cuck. They're saying a lot of things in one statement here, so let me break this down. The idea that men could never be single parents. Okay, that is false. There are many men who are single parents. In fact, I personally plan to be a single male parent. I don't plan on getting married, but I would love to have children. I don't plan on being married. I don't believe in modern day marriage. So this is 100% false. Next point they make is that men shouldn't be very interactive in their child's learning and development. This is very stupid. Men, I don't know any man that's, you might know someone like this, I don't. And I'd say to a very large margin, at least 90 to 95% of men want to be involved in their child's education and development. The problem is that the woman pushes them out of the relationship, or the family court pushes them out of the relationship, or something along those lines. They are often pushed out. They don't just walk away. There are very few people who actually do that. They do exist, but they're very far and few between. Most men are pushed out or pushed aside. Next, men should always be the dominant one in the relationship. Yes, they should. Otherwise, their wife will find someone who is. Or their girlfriend will find someone who is. That's why they get cheated on to a very large percentile. Yes, they need to be the dominant one. Now, when they say dominant, as in the one who's calling the shots, yes. When you make rules and if that rule is violated, you walk away, yes. Yes, that's what a man needs to do. And if you don't like it, well, then go ahead and try it your way. Get back to me if it works, and I guarantee you it won't. It's a matter of time. It's an if, not when conversation. All right, this is the last one. The idea that any interest in a range of things that are strictly considered feminine would be an emasculation of a guy. I would need specific examples as to what they say is strictly considered feminine, because that could be a wide range of things. Every man has a feminine side, just as every woman has a masculine side. But men are only happy when they're in their masculine, and women are only happy when they're in their feminine. They'll tell you otherwise, but I believe in people's actions and body language and not with their words. Most of the time when I hear in a debate or whatever, when a woman talks about how she does this and she does that and she's happy, 9 times out of 10, she has very defensive body language. And the same thing goes with a guy who's very feminine. He has very defensive body language when he makes a statement like that, instead of just I'm holding my space, I'm comfortable with it, and I'm owning what I'm saying. Instead, he's very defensive. He's got his arms folded. He's got this weird stance like this. They're trying to be on the defensive. When if you're actually happy and content and you're excited with the trajectory of your life, you're not defensive, you're offensive, you're on the move, you're on the go, you're moving forward. You're not trying to defend yourself because you're not being attacked. You're just explaining. Now, my friends, I think that's enough with that article. And the show's already gone longer than what I've been doing recently. But I personally think that if you take a lot of the feminist advice today and the man takes it to heart, he'll do a lot better in dating versus a woman taking that same advice. And I firmly believe that feminism is really just a repackaging of what they would call toxic masculinity. That's where it comes from, is from feminism. They take the worst parts of masculinity in their own words and make it theirs, as if that's what all men do, when it's only the men that they're attracted to that they're trying to copy. But I'm curious what you have to say about this matter, my friends. If you want to leave a comment, you can leave a comment on the YouTube or on the Rumble page. Or if you want to go over to my Twitter page, @SheepGetSheared, head on over to there. Look for the Austin Creed with the banner that you're seeing on the screen. But, my friends, I look forward to hearing what you got to say on the matter. In the meantime, God bless you. God bless your family. God bless America. We're out of here. Enjoy your day. Peace.